Hello, 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 it's Sydney Rose, and today I'm taking you guys with me to an amazing event to celebrate Women's History Month. So I didn't get to do my regular intro in the car because there was someone parked in the car next to me, so this is the intro y'all got. But let's get into the video. On March 19th, the Women in Education group Delta Kappa Gamma put on a Women's History Month event with local women from the Spartanburg community for a panel. My mentor teacher and school mom, Laura Palmer, is the president of their branch. She watches all of my videos, so hello Laura whenever you watch this, and thank you for watching my videos. Laura asked me to vlog this event and film it so they could have it for their archives. This is the third time this event has been put on, and the other two events have been just as amazing, but they weren't filmed. This is where I come in, the wannabe YouTuber who likes to document my life. So this year I was able to film the event and bring it to my amazing YouTube videos, and Delta Kappa Gamma members have a raw copy of the footage for their archives. I was also able to display my students' artwork at this event. I have blurred out the video for their privacy, but I have placed a picture of the display with their names and the description covered. My students learned about famous women in visual arts and were able to choose their favorite and draw a ballpoint pen portrait of them using the facial proportion and ballpoint pen techniques that I've been teaching them in class over the last few weeks. Now before I get into the video of the actual panel, I want to put a few disclaimers. I've had to put a few censors over words that go against YouTube's community guidelines, and I have censored some places such as where I work for my coworkers, students, and my privacy. I have worked my editing magic on the footage to cut out pauses and some time in between speakers, so this isn't the raw footage of the event, but everything said is in the video. There are talks of mental health, social issues, and the challenges that go along with that during this panel, so if that's something that you feel would be too heavy to watch, please end the video here and you can go watch one of my less serious videos. All of the women in this panel are extremely strong and amazing representatives for the community of Spartanburg. So with that, Delta Kappa Gamma ETA chapter presents a celebration on women's history, leading the change, women shaping a sustainable future.
National, I'd like to welcome you. I'm Dr. Laura Palmer, and welcome. Speaking right after me will be Dr. Melinda Willard. She's going to give you a little history of Delta Kappa Gamma and Ada chapter, followed by Dr. Frances Hardy. And I need to publicly apologize to her. Her name is misspelled in the program, and I was so happy to type it. So that's my fault. So Dr. Hardy, apologies, but thank you so much. And then Ms. Mary Levens will introduce the panel. So I hope you enjoy the evening and welcome.
Can you hear me? Is that okay? Can you see me? I'm very happy to share with you the history of Delta Kappa Gamma. The Delta Kappa Gamma Society International was founded in Austin, Texas on May 11, 1929. Through the leadership of Dr. Annie Webb Blanton. Dr. Blanton was a member of the faculty of the University of Texas, as well as a former state superintendent of public instruction in Texas. She had envisioned a society that would unite women educators in their pursuit of better professional preparation, as well as recognition of their work. She and 11 other women educators from Texas met at the Faculty Women's Club, campus of the University of Texas, Austin, on May 11, 1929, to discuss the possibility of establishing such a society. The result was the founding of the Delta Kappa Gamma Society International. The mission statement of Delta Kappa Gamma is to promote professional and personal growth of women educators and excellence in education. There are seven purposes that the founders established. First purpose, to unite women educators of the world in a genuine spiritual fellowship. Number two, to honor women who have given or proved evidence and potential for distinctive service in any field of education. sponsor and support desirable educational legislation and initiate legislation in the interest of women educators. 5, to endow scholarships to aid outstanding women educators pursuing graduate study and to grant fellowships to women educators from other countries. And we have had a number of our members to benefit from the scholarships. For example, our president, Dr. Palmer, was one of those scholarship recipients. And speaking of Dr. Palmer, I would like to give a shout out to Dr. Palmer. She is a wonderful president. She has served several terms as president of ADA chapter, and we love her. She does a great job. Thank you, Dr. Palmer. Okay, I digress. Okay, purpose number 6. To stimulate the personal and professional growth of members, and to encourage the participation in appropriate programs of action. Number 7, to inform the members of current economic, social, political, and educational issues to the end that they may become intelligent and functioning members of a world society. Now, I made an acronym to help us remember that. And the acronym that I thought of was Phil Cubs, F-I-L-L-C-U-P-S, Phil Cubs. So F is fellowship, I, information, L, legislation, L, leadership, C, current events, U, unite, P, professional development, and S, for scholarships. So that's, as a teacher, I've learned you have to simplify things for your students. South Carolina State, which was originally called the Alpha Eta State, was founded in Columbia, South Carolina on March 5th, 1938. So this year is the 88th birthday of our state organization. This is Martha Thomas Fitzgerald of Columbia, South Carolina, served as the first president of Alpha Eta State. Ada chapter of Alpha Eta State, this is our chapter, Ada, was organized in Spartanburg, South Carolina on November 4th, 1944. Dr. Vera Wilson G., who is a member of the faculty of Congress College and one of the founders of Alpha Eta State, served as the first president of Ada chapter. And if you're familiar with Congress, you know that Dr. G was an icon. She's an icon. Congress. Because the Delta Kappa Gamma Society International is an honor society, membership is by invitation only. To be considered for membership, a woman must be employed as a professional educator or recently retired from a position in the field of education. Today, the society has members in 18 countries and sends representatives to the United Nations. There are approximately 90,000 members worldwide. I think that's wonderful. We began with 12 women. The Order of the Rose is the highest honor bestowed by the Delta Kappa Gamma Society International. It's given in recognition of service to the organization as well as commitment to the ideals of the society. And we have a recipient of the Order of the Rose with us, Miss Martha Horton. She's back there. She received the Order of the Rose last year at the state convention. Let's give her in closing, I would like to say to any young person present to go for your dreams. If you have a dream, if you have a vision, go for it. These 12 women had no idea what their vision would become. So you may start with just something local and end up having a worldwide organization. So go for it. Thank all of you for attending tonight. And Texas.
Good evening. It's my pleasure to share a word of inspiration. I'm sorry. Can you all hear me? Can you hear me? Am I clear? This Lord. You all don't hear this? It's loud. It's getting loud as I've gotten older. I'm getting to hear things, I think, but the sound is getting louder. It's the sound of that glass ceiling. I've heard it before, but I'm listening closely and I'm hearing it more and more. That glass ceiling, which for years set boundaries on what women could accomplish, is cracking. When Hillary Clinton became the first female presidential candidate for a major political party, the glass ceiling cracked. When Kamala Harris became the first female vice president and then the first African-American woman to be officially nominated to run for president, she broke through the glass ceiling. When Hispanic and African-American trailblazers, Sonia Sotomayor and Ketanji Brown Jackson, joined Sandra Day O'Connor as justices on the Supreme Court, they chiseled away at that glass ceiling. From NASCAR driver Danica Patrick and Oscar-winning director Catherine Bigelow, from Aretha Franklin, the first female inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, to Coach Don Staley and the WNBA. Glass ceilings are breaking. And today, we have with us women who have in their own way broken through the glass ceilings. Listen as they share their stories of how they chip away at the limitations that face them. Be encouraged by the successes they've encountered, and then be challenged to keep chipping away or hammering away at that ceiling. Because you see, there are thousands of cracks in it, yet it has not shattered. And as a matter of fact, there are some who are trying to superglue those cracks back together to obstruct our progress. But it won't work because I hear the glass breaking. It's cracking in this place at this time with this gathering of young women and seasoned veterans, men and women gathered in this room. You believe in education. You believe in equality and opportunity for all. You are chiseling at that ceiling. And one day, that glass ceiling will be shattered. The barriers of discrimination, shattered. The limitations on the gender pay gap, shattered. The stereotypes that attempt to diminish our individuality, shattered. So thank you for joining us today as we put a few more cracks in that glass ceiling. Thank you.
I'm sorry, but that machine is not taking away from this evening. So, no, and Laura was saying, can you straighten it out? I said, yes, I can close it. So, that's what happens when you're a science teacher, just hit the off button. It is my pleasure this evening to introduce our distinguished panel, and it is a distinguished panel. When we sit down 3 years ago, we realized Spartanburg didn't have a women's history program. And then we started asking people, did you go to one? Did you go to one? And those people were women. No. So we sort of started one in 1920, right afterwards, we have numbers 1 to 5. And when I finish introducing them to you, they will call a number, and that's the order in which they will start. So, I mean, before I got married, my last name was an A. You know where the A's used to sit in school? First desk, first row, forever. And I swore I'd never do that to my children, and I didn't. I did put them in alphabetical order, but by first name. And it just made me so happy to see 8 people way in the back, because I never got to sit way in the back. So I'm going to start because they are seated alphabetically. Our first, or no, not necessarily first, our beginning panelist is Dr. Shannon Agee. What do you want to wave at? I'm sorry. Yes. Our second panelist is Dr. Araceli Hernandez-LaRoque. Mrs. Lisa Pappas. Ms. Betsy Teeter. And Seville Williams. Everything that you've been reading is what I will read to you, and I don't read to you because I know, read the room. You people can read. I don't have time to say for them. So let me, very quickly, let them get over their nervousness. And since we're going to do it this way, just because you're first, doesn't mean you get to kick folks. I'm going backwards with this group. Okay. There you go. You got to move to the front. Dr. Agee said her maiden name started with a Y, and she was thrilled to move to the front because now it's an E. I'm telling you, sometimes you don't realize what you do. Thank you all very much.
Okay, well, good afternoon. I am Seville Williams. I am a native of Spartanburg, of course, born and raised here, graduated from Spartanburg High School, and I will be number 1. And of course, I asked what we're supposed to do is say, introduce yourself. So, this information is never said beforehand. I am the executive director of LifeWorks. It's a local nonprofit that we founded to support working class individuals here in Spartanburg County. We are focused right now on making sure that working class individuals have access to fair housing, they have access to second chances, senior expungements, and pardons through the state, and we want to make sure they have access to rebuilding their credit. So we do a lot of credit rehab clinics as well, and all those are free. We assist individuals who may not be in the education system with tutoring for their GED as well, and that's also provided free of charge to them. So we get support from the community. We've been around since 2008. We began by offering computer training for those who were underemployed and for senior citizens. And we morphed into assisting close to 400 young people who graduated high school and transitioning to work, college, or to the military. So we're really proud of that, and we've been doing this for since 2008. Glad to be here.
Okay, I'm Betsy Teeter, and I guess I will start with a story, since I've been telling stories since I was a teenager. My story begins about 30 years ago. Actually, it begins exactly at 10 o'clock on May the 5th, 1995. That is the day that 3 writers found each other at a coffee shop in downtown Spartanburg and decided that we would go looking for the other writers in Spartanburg and that we would make a book of writers writing about the experience of living in Spartanburg. Now, at this time, I was in a failing marriage, I was unemployed, been a sort of a high-profile journalist when I had 2 small children at home, and my deadline was like 7 o'clock at night in the newsroom, and it just wasn't working. And so we came up with an idea to do a book. And we went looking for writers in Spartanburg, and we found a lot of them among educators. One of them is in this room. Frances Hardy was an original Hub City writer. Yay! And we had others, Cooper Smith, and we had college professors, and we put together this book, and we had no idea where we were going, and I had no idea where I was going, but I loved what I was doing. This appeared to be my life's work, but there wasn't a lot of money involved. In fact, we didn't have any money to do this with. We were starting from zero. We did go out and raise a little money. We ran a fundraiser that nobody came to. We kept going. We didn't give up. And we did put out that book. And that book came out about a year later. We had a big event at the train station in downtown Spartanburg. We didn't know anybody would come, and over 1,000 people came. And we sold 800 books that night. And we had money in the bank, and we just kept going. And I was out there applying for jobs, and John Lane, who was one of those original writers, now is my husband, said, no, Betsy, you don't want a job, you want to do this. So I patched it together, freelance writing, and the Hub City Writers Project launched with one book. Now, all these years later, we have published over 150 books. A new book comes out about every month from the Hub City Writers Project here in Spartanburg. We have 2 locations downtown. You know about the bookstore on Main Street. Been there for 16 years, super successful. I'm very proud of that. The publishing side has an office down on Spring Street. The Hub City Writers Project we started with no money and just 3 people drinking coffee. Now it has 6 full-time employees, 6 part-time employees. They have health care, they have 401ks. I'm very proud of that. And they do some good work. Their work is, the books they put out are getting reviewed in the New York Times and the New Yorker and places like that. I'm now retired. Yay, I like that. And I've gone back to writing rather than writing grants, which I did for a lot of years in editing. And have been put a book out last year called North of Maine. And I have another book coming out of true crime stories from Spartanburg this year. But I'm still involved with Hub City. Not on the payroll anymore, but I get to go down there and work at the bookstore, which I did today, and edit manuscripts and read manuscripts. So that's my story.
Buenas noches. Gracias. Bonsoir. Bonsoir. Buonasera. Good evening, everyone. My name is Araceli Hernandez Laroche, and I'm a professor of modern languages. I teach French and Latino studies classes. I know that sounds a little different, the pairing, but it all makes sense to me and hopefully to my students. Speaking of students, I want to give a shout out to Sophia, to Jose, and to Adrian, who are here. They're students at USC Upstate. And any other students from USC Upstate here, or other students from SCC or other schools or high schools? Well, I just want to share with you very briefly that I was born in Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico. We are more than a headline. We were in the headlines 2 or 3 weeks ago, right, Jose? Jose has family too from Guadalajara. My silly dad, there was a lockdown in Guadalajara, and what did he do? He had to go to church. And we tried to convince him otherwise, and thankfully the priest sent him home. But I come from a very vibrant country. I grew up in California, and yesterday was a very sad day for a lot of us, as you probably heard in the news, the big news of Dolores Huerta, who spoke about what had happened to her 60 years ago. And one of our civic leaders got exposed for horrible things during this Women's International Month, and I realized how strong Dolores Huerta really was. So I come from a state of phenomenal women like Dolores Huerta. That's where I studied. And I've lived in other countries. I've done a lot of things, but I'm so happy to be here in Spartanburg, South Carolina. I spent my 20s studying other cultures. I spent my 20s in France and Italy studying Europe's relationship to North Africa, to Western Africa. And when I came here to Spartanburg, I was so surprised to hear Spanish being spoken all around me. And yet, when I stepped into the university, we didn't really hear it. I didn't really hear or see guests, Hispanic, Latino guests invited to speak. And there were so few professors like me. And even though my dirty secret, my PhD is in French studies and really in decolonization, I had also studied Spanish. I got a little frustrated. So in 2021, during the pandemic, do you remember the pandemic? One of the most impacted communities was the Latino community. We were essential workers. We had to leave our homes, even though it was not safe. And I remember kind of trying to rally my students. You know, there's power, there's beauty, we're gonna live. And I organized an event, a cultural event, online, and that was the first seed of South Carolina Centro Latino, El Centro, the first university-based center for the study of Latino culture in the state. And I'm so proud of it, and I'm so proud of my students who have taken classes with me. We collaborate across the state. In 2 weeks, we are going to South Carolina higher education institutions, students engagement and advocacy. We're partnering with 10 universities and community colleges, and we're gonna teach students how to advocate at the State House, because it's not partisan, but now is the time for our elected officials to hear from all communities, and especially from young people. But I invite you into this work. We have a lot of events coming up. Next month, I'm also a board member of SC Humanities. I'm very proud to be so. And next week, on March 25th, the executive director of SC Humanities, Jennifer Bingo Gunter, is coming to Spartanburg to USC Upstate. We're going to show a short documentary on business and professional women of South Carolina, and local women are going to be on that panel. So I hope to see you there. One of our pillars is the public humanities. We want to share our stories, all our stories, and even though it's a Latino center, it really is about everyone, and we invite everyone in. Thank you.
I am a pediatrician at Regenesis, and I decided to be a pediatrician in middle school. We visited a university ship, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with those, but they travel around third world countries and provide medical and surgical services. And when I saw a video of the work they did with children, I was really struck with the knowledge that that was what I wanted to do with my life. I really initially planned on doing medical missions overseas, but in med school in Philadelphia, I quickly learned that there are missions right here in the United States. And for me, that means taking care of children with Medicaid. My husband and I initially moved to North Carolina after we finished residency. And in that town, it was a very small town, and so you took everybody, regardless of what insurance they had. Insurance, Medicaid, whatever. And then when we moved to Spartanburg, I quickly learned that that is not the case here. There are actually very few pediatric practices that will accept unlimited numbers of children with Medicaid. And I had the opportunity to help open a practice with Prisma that was initially focused on providing care for those children. During the pandemic, Prisma decided to close that office, and so I knew that that was going to leave my patients who I had been seeing And it really has been such a blessing to me to work for an organization that has the same mission that I do. Their goal is to provide care for the underserved and to provide services that meet their needs, like transportation, discount medications, mental health services, community health navigators. So that has been fulfilling in terms of my job. And then one morning at First Pres, I heard a presentation about what we call Hand in Hand. And this was started by Melissa France, who is here. And this is a group that works with school social workers to provide new clothes and food for students who live in poverty. And I was fortunate enough to join them and have found such joy in being able to serve in this way also. It's just been amazing to be part of a group that all have the same heart and mind and know that we're bringing dignity and love to those children. And as I got involved with Hand in Hand and other groups like the Faith Initiative to End Child Poverty, I really started learning how many children in Spartanburg live in poverty. At least half the students in every school district in Spartanburg and 70% in District 7, which is right around us right here, are live below the poverty line. This also does not include those who meet ALICE criteria. ALICE is asset limited, income confined, employed. So these are working families who are more than the poverty level, but they still can't afford basic expenses. So many families live just one unexpected financial expense away from homelessness, and they're often forced to choose between paying rent, buying medicine, or feeding their children. These are parents who are working, sometimes more than one job, because minimum wage hasn't changed for over 15 years, they cannot afford their basic needs. Almost half of the children who live in South Carolina are covered by Medicaid, and 60% of the births are funded that way. And I believe very firmly that children who live in poverty have done nothing to be in that situation, and they deserve the same food, housing, and health care as other children. I wish that I could tell you all the stories that we have heard in Hand in just the 4 school districts that we serve. Families who have never had their own home, but moved from relative to relative. Families whose children have grown up in motels. A working mom who has to walk to work because she doesn't have the money to put tires on her car. Families who ride a lawnmower to the store because they do not have a car. Children who come to school smelling of urine because they have to share a mattress on the floor with their brother who wets the bed. Children with roaches in their backpacks where there's sippy cups. And then the stories about how our interventions have made a difference. A high school student who was living in a bare apartment with her older sister, who was withdrawn and wore baggy sweatshirts with the hood up over her face, who then blossomed during her relationship with our team members and wore a pink dress to prom, and is now a senior in college and volunteers in our pantry when she comes home. This is a really challenging time to be a pediatrician. We are facing measles. We are disrespected by government officials and parents who are confused by misinformation, and our patients are facing increasing social and mental health challenges. But at the same time, I have found a new purpose in advocacy. Being a voice for my patients gives me the comfort of knowing that even though I can't fix all of their circumstances, I am doing what I am able to do. This has made the past few years the most fulfilling of my career so far, and it gives me hope that I can make it through the next 15 years until retirement. I would challenge you to find something that you feel passionate about and find a way to use it to make a difference in someone's life. Start with one person or a small group. This is how Hand in Hand started, with one person seeing a few children in need and finding a way to help. There's a quote in the Talmud that says, "Whoever saves a single life saves the whole world." I don't literally save lives in the ER or the labor room anymore, but I hope that when my time here is over, I will change the lives of children in Spartanburg.
I would like to stand, if you guys don't mind. I'm not used to sitting and talking. My name is Lisa Pappas, and Mental Health America, Spartanburg. And what's led me to this has been a very challenging life. At the age of 6, I lost my mom to suicide. And at the time, her and my father were divorced, and my sister and I had to live with my dad and my stepmom. And I grew up very fast. My dad always provided for us. We always had money. We always had food in the house and all of that. But what we lacked our entire childhood was guidance, was love, was understanding. So at the age of 17, I graduated high school. I soon got pregnant and had my daughter, Brooke. We moved to Atlanta and we started a new life. I met my husband, who I'm still married to, 33 years. We had a family. I had a son, Cameron, and he had 2 from his previous marriage. So we had 4 kids, and I was a very young mom. But I wasn't going to let that challenge stop me. I was going to teach my children love, understanding, how important school is, and how to contribute to society. So we moved here in October of 2000, and we bought a local business, and I just sold it. 26 years I was in business, but in 2010, I lost my daughter, Brooke, in a car accident. She was she was a freshman at USC Upstate. And it was a tragic event for my family and I. And my son Cameron really struggled with that. Even though we were very close, we were best friends, we did everything together. He talked to me about everything, sometimes things I don't know, but we were very close. We would go see Dave Matthews together. I don't know if any of you know who the Dave Matthews Band is, but we would pick up a venue every summer and we would head out and just road trip it. I mean, we were just very, very close. And my son Cameron went to Wofford College, and he was a rising senior when he took his life. And so that was another tragedy and another challenge in my life that I had to deal with. Before I lost Cameron, I had started at SCC, and I was going to be a nurse, which was my lifelong dream. Finally, to become a nurse, we were able to afford me to go to college. I was set to enter nursing school in August of 2015, but I lost Cameron in June of that year. And I can't tell you the challenges I faced every day. It took me some time to get myself together, and I started slowly getting involved with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. I was a board member for 6 years, and then I got involved with NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness here in Spartanburg. I was a board member there for 6 years. I've organized many walks to promote awareness of mental health and suicide awareness. And in 2023, I went back to school, but this time not to be a nurse. This time I went back to learn psychology and how I can help others with my pain. So I graduated from SCC proudly in 2024. I was the student speaker for the class. And in December 2025, I just earned my bachelor's degree from USC Upstate in interdisciplinary studies with minors in psychology and child advocacy. And I am currently the new Executive Director of Mental Health America, Spartanburg, hoping to make a difference in the mental health community around here. People that just don't have provide education to help our youth. Our youth need it really bad. So that's my goal as the new executive director, is to start educating more in schools. I speak a lot at Wofford College. They have a fund set up for Cameron. It's called Cam's Club, and once a year we do a walk and have a little cookout and have tabling event, a tabling event for everyone to come to and just show our support and show that we are there for them, that you don't have to be alone. So this is my challenging story. Never give up. Keep pushing forward no matter what is put in front of you. I couldn't do it without God. He's got my back, and he just has always been there. I couldn't do it without my husband, who's my rock. We lean on each other all the time. I've just decided that my life is going to bring purpose from all the pain that I've experienced. Thank you.
Thank you all. That was fantastic. Now I'd like to open it up for questions from the audience.
Yes, would Seville share her story? She just knows where you were. So tell us your story. Give her.
Alright, so growing up here in Summer, we live on the north side. If you're familiar at all, that is near Wooded River. So we walk between Mark Street. We were one of those working class families. My mom worked at peach orchard, and that is seasonal. You don't get peaches year round, so that means we were poor. I went to Cleveland Elementary School. I was one of those curious students. I asked a lot of questions all the time, and I still do that as an adult. Growing up here is a little different. I would be one of the students in the class who had the highest GPA. I laughed a lot, but again, we were extremely poor. We were too poor to live in the projects, because my mom had this pride thing, but she didn't want government assistance, even though we needed it. So, I had this community, here. We played a lot. We used to do a lot of things that probably would get you in jail now, but back then, we didn't even have seatbelts in our cars. So, you just have to imagine a freer time in Swartburg. So me and my friends, we would be out till 7, and the morning your mom says go out to play, it's like 9 in the morning. You come back at 7 p.m. when the lights come on. They have no clue where you are. So what we would do to eat, we would be in neighbors' yards. They would have fruit trees. So you get pears, plums, apples, things like that. You have Miss Haney. If you don't know Miss Haney, she's Lee Haney's mom. She used to work at Northwest Center. She was our neighbor when we lived behind the college. This lady was so amazing. She taught me so much at a young age about volunteering, but also about feeding your community. She literally used to bring food home in the trunk of her car and feed our neighborhood. That is how people used to survive, right? Especially when you didn't have government assistance. You didn't wait on a check. There was no checks. The community fed you. So I grew up in that era. And coming from that, about the age of 16 in church, we had the Spiritual Gifts Day. And our pastor wanted everyone to know what their gifts was. I didn't get any of the cool gifts. Couldn't sing, didn't have worship, there was no spiritual dance. I got organization. What did you do at 16 with the gift of organization? I was so disappointed. I prayed for a year. Please let me sing. Please let me have anything else. It didn't happen. So I was the church secretary too. So they appreciated me having these organizations. But I had learned this from the ladies in the community. They did things a certain way. They got up in the mornings, they went to work, they had their day laid out, they came home, they took care of their community, and they took care of their families. So I was learning these things, and I didn't appreciate Well, one Sunday we didn't have service, we didn't have lights. I didn't know anything about paying bills. Nothing at all. So I found out quickly that Duke Power does, when they send that letter, you do have to pay them. And you can call Duke Power, you can pay them, and they'll come back and you'll have service on Wednesday. And they let me see his church secretary after we didn't have lights. I don't know why, but I learned a hard lesson. So now all my bills are paid in advance. Never about lights again. After that session and just dealing with having the spiritual gift that did make sense to me, looking back, I can see how it tracked and trend in my life. Because every position I've had since the age of 18, whether I was going to college, whether I was a student assistant, my first jobs, I was always hired because of organization. They said you're great with notes, you know how to organize an office, you know how to make this kind of symphony work. They could give me chaos and I could make a tune out of it. And that became my talent to the point of now that's something I appreciate. And over the last few years, making sure that no matter what I've done, that's been my core, my base, but also being your authentic self. So I had to embrace this gift that I had no idea that I needed, but it's afforded me a good life, I would say that. And how can I be me with that gift of organization, right? I've spent the majority of my life in mentorship with someone. I've always had a mentor in different aspects of my life. And when I say I'm organized, if I want to learn to be a better speaker, if I want to learn anything about the arts, I'll find someone. I'm resourceful. I'll find someone who knows someone and say, can I just ask you some questions? Can you teach me this? Can you show me this? I'll take you to coffee, a tea, whatever it takes to get what I need. I'm always feeding myself some kind of knowledge. And this gift of being organized has just paid off in so many ways. And as everyone was speaking, I could just see different parts of my life play out. I mean, I am definitely the student that God made me see. I was that student. Araceli, I am an international person. I love all languages and cultures. I believe I belong to everybody in the world. And I get that from people. They say, it's like I know you. I think that's true in a way. I've dealt with depression since COVID has not been friends to many of us, but since 2017, I lost 3 siblings, 2 brothers and a sister. And the thing about that, which is interesting, and no one talks about, after the services, no one comes back to talk to you about, to check on you, are you okay? They assume you know how to grieve. I had no idea. You expect a parent, aunts and uncles, but not a sibling, right? So I was a year into my last brother's passing, which was 2020. He had brain cancer. I was his caregiver. And I was depressed. And had no idea. I was functioning, I went to work. I worked in HR, corporate America. We were remote because of COVID. The only time I was in my car was to drive him to chemo, drive him to surgery, and then before I can't go into the doctor's office anymore. So there's another wall up. I had no idea. No one stopped to check in on me about my mental health. And it took maybe a month of being sick with headaches, blurred vision. If you ever had felt like an eye pop and it was just red in the corners, I had that happening week after week. And my doctor said, what's going on with you? I'm like, I don't know, maybe I need some eye drops. Yeah. I was stressed and depressed. And it took a year and a half to get to a place where I could have some order in the chaos of just dealing with mental health. And with that, I definitely relate. I wrote my first book of poetry in 1993. I actually sent it for publication. When they responded they were publishing, I got scared. so I freaked out and said, I'm not ready for this stuff, I'm sorry. I did say that. And that was not me for me. And it's literally still in my closet. And each year I say I'm gonna finish and I'm just gonna publish. But there's something that we don't speak about often as adults is the fear of the feeling. We know it's there, but in a way, sometimes our fear stops us from moving forward, from progressing. And it's like we're allergic to our own success sometimes. And we do need people, a hype man, if you will, to remind us how great we are and that we are exactly who we're meant to be right now.
Thank you for sharing that, Sylvia. Do we have any other questions for our panel?
Struggling with mental health and like even like advocating for myself at times when I do need help, and just knowing that I'm like not alone in that, and also navigating challenges has really just sort of strengthened that resilience, and that's what I see through all of you. And growing up, like I came here as immigrants, and I was taught to work hard, push through it. And so,
That's the stigma. That's the stigma of mental health, unfortunately. And it's okay to reach out. Do you know who to reach out to? You do? Good. That's the first step. Making sure that you can talk to someone freely with no judgment.
And also, I think that I learned the hard way is that it's okay not to be okay. You don't have to be okay all the time. And if you look at what we're going through now as just a society, it's so much pressure on all of us that it's okay not to be okay. You might need to take a break from social media because it's so negative. I stopped watching the news. I just mentally was not in a place from depression to life. I was not in a space where I could function at work, be a mother, and also keep up with the news. It was just too overwhelming. And there's nothing wrong with protecting yourself so you'll be better later.
Thank you for being so brave, and I'm so proud of you on many levels. So many levels, but I just wanted to mention one thing or two. One thing and one invitation. Pre-pandemic, I learned of this horrible statistic that the group in the United States that attempted suicide the most were young Latinas who were from 12 to 18 years old. And one of the reasons is, you have the pressures of being a minority within a dominant culture, and then within your minority culture, there are all these pressures about what it is to be a woman. So you don't really fit in one culture, and then you don't fit in another, and there are different expectations, and it's just too much for us. This is something I really don't talk about a lot, but when I was 16 years old, one of my secret boyfriends, I wasn't allowed to have a boyfriend, it was this very beautiful young boy who was a dancer. This is in California. His name was Domingo, and he actually told me that he was going to take his life, and I was shocked, and I told my mom, but I didn't really believe he was going to do it. He did take his life, and I was traumatized for like 5 years. And my dear dad, the one who is not afraid of narco violence, kind of made me feel a little bad for the way I was dealing with the trauma. And I love him so deeply, but there's so much to be done in so many communities, but especially in the Latino community, because there are these taboos that we really need to tackle. So, thank you for being so brave and bringing this up. And I want to invite all of you, March 28th at USC Upstate. There's going to be an Out of the Darkness campus walk, and you can join our team with Adrian, Jose, and Sophia, and myself.
And I will be there. I will definitely be there. This is a great event for all years now. So it's a place where we can all come together, those who are survivors of suicide, those who have attempted suicide. It's for all of us to get together and be ourselves. There'll be a lot of resources there, a lot of tabling, a little bit of walking, I believe, around the Hodge area. So I encourage all of you to come and see what the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention is all about. I will be there representing Mental Health America Spartanburg, but can answer any questions that you might have about that.
We'll leave a poster here after the event.
So are there any other questions?
Well, I want the microphone just because it's so hard to hear a question if you don't have one. So first of all, this program was fascinating because I really just started learning about what is sustainability. And it's just wonderful to meet, to hear the stories of 5 leaders of sustainability that are women. And it just seems like women do play very active roles in sustainability. I mean, if I just go down the line, it's creating a better tomorrow. It's expanding our civilization even further with the written word. Taking care of our citizens' mental health, physical health too, and I'm really just very thrilled to be here to listen to you, Dr. Andrew Soros. My daughter is looking for a college, and we have been all over this, sort of South Carolina, mostly South Carolina, a little bit North Carolina, and USC Upstate. We just visited sort of number 5, 5th out of 6 that we visited, and it's such a treasure, so rich in its offerings to help the people here and be focused on what sustains our people here in Spartanburg. And all the programs that you described were wonderful. And my wife and I had to learn about what it is to have a daughter in humanities. That's the name of the game right now for us. And didn't have to worry about chemistry with one son, didn't have to worry about business with another son. We have to worry about humanities with our daughter, which a couple of you have really focused on. And so I hope we will be there on the 25th for your program, as well as the mental health aspect, because boy, that mental health just either helps us expand to what we do or limits us in what we can do so much. And so I just want to tell you my appreciation. So none of this was really a question, but I just want to say it's an appreciation of how all of you are helping our sustainability here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I said that better myself. Thank you for expressing that. Do we have any more questions? Before we close, I need to do a few little shout outs. The thanks are on the back page, but I really need to highlight a few. I like our boys in the back, our Viking Community College young men. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for organizing and being such a fantastic leader to those young men. I'd like to thank Ms. Sharon Porter for being here. Those of you who were with us last year may remember she was one of our panelists last year, and she serves on the District 7 School Board. So, Ms. Porter, I know you're busy. Thank you for being with us. As well as Ms. Melanie Cook in the back. She is the state president for our South Carolina Delta Kappa Gamma, and I appreciate you being here this evening. In just a moment, I know this is what you're getting ready for. In just a moment, I'm going to say go get a cupcake. We want to thank Miranda Gilbert from CC Sweets who partners with us our dessert reception. I'd also like to recognize Miss Sydney Sanford. She is the head of the art department. And I hope you will take a time to look at this, is it a portrait, Miss Sanford? A presentation?
I don't know if I'm loud enough. Can everybody hear me? Cool. They're all portraits of famous women visual artists, so they got to learn about each of them. I've got a little description in the middle and the artists that are featured, but my students learned about the artist and then were able to use their facial proportion techniques and ballpoint pen drawing techniques that we've been working on to choose their favorite one to draw.
And thank you, most importantly, to Dr. Melinda Wheeler. We were sitting around the table at a Delta Kappa Gamma meeting, and we were discussing our upcoming projects for the year, and then she said, I really think that we should do something for women's history. And I said, well, okay, what would you like to do? And from her idea came this idea of presenting a panel of fantastic women. And I can tell you that the biggest challenge that we have had, now our third year, is narrowing down who to ask. Because if you start looking around Spartanburg, there is woman after woman after woman who could sit at this table. And so thank you for being here. We've already got some ideas for next year. But thank you all for everything. And thank you, Dr. Wheeler, for being the brainchild of this. Have I forgotten anything? Y'all, last year I forgot to have the audience ask questions. All right, well, y'all, please help yourself to this beautiful reception and talk with our families. And if you all have any comments or suggestions, please share that. And thank you for being here. Y'all have a nice evening.
After the panel was over, it was time for everyone to take a group picture and enjoy the catering from Sissy Sweets. This is such an amazing event that is held annually in Spartanburg, and I look forward to it every year. It is so important, especially in today's society, that we keep women's history alive and keep pushing for our rights and freedoms. I know this video was a bit different than my normal content, but it was an important one to make. This video is coming out in April, but it's also so important that we celebrate women's history along with different cultures and embrace our differences as humans all year round. It is all of our first time living on this planet. It's important that we accept each other with no hate and embrace everyone with love. But with that, we are at the end of another video. So do all of the things that YouTubers ask you to do at the end of the video. So that means like and subscribe if you like my content, and I will see you guys next Thursday. Bye!